Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.
Iowa lawmakers have proposed a number of social issues impacting the gay community during the 2023 session. Is the state turning back the clock on gay rights, or did LGBTQ community go too far? We look at that in the cities. Iowa made history in 2009 when the state Supreme Court struck down a ban on same-sex marriage. It was heralded as a huge advancement in LGBTQ rights, as Iowa became the third state to legalize gay marriage. Now the Iowa legislature is questioning some of those protections for gay couples and is restricting how issues regarding lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning, known as LGBTQ, are addressed in schools. Are gay rights under attack? Reverend Rich Hendricks is a gay rights advocate and minister at the Metropolitan Community Church. So let's talk about this session of the Iowa legislature. Do you feel that gay rights and LGBTQ issues are under attack?
Definitely. It's a war on human rights, is what I like to call it. And this particular legislature has, declared war on everyone. There's a famous Martin Niemöller quote about how they came for the socialists, but I was not a socialist, so I did nothing. And they came for the trade unionists, but I was not a trade unionist, so I did nothing. And they came for the Jews, and I was not a Jew, so I did nothing. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And that's the kind of situation that we're facing in the Iowa legislature. And in the nation, and should the nation turn more towards the right-wing extremists, what they're peddling is authoritarianism. The definition of a fascist is a political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual and stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Now, we're not there yet, but we are well on that track in Iowa government. And I don't use those words lightly, but we are there. They have come for teachers. They have come for librarians. They have come for trans kids. They have come for our children. They're banning books, for heaven's sakes. I don't know what else to call it except a drift towards a very authoritarian regime.
There is the argument, though, that perhaps gay rights went too far. I mean, when you're talking about some issues inside a schoolroom and the exposure that young children get, that is the argument that's being made by lawmakers that are introducing these bills. It's a red herring.
It's a red herring.
Why do you say that?
So let me give you an example. In 2009, we had legalized same-gender marriage, right? And oh my gosh, the world was going to fall apart. The institution of marriage was never going to be the same, yada, yada, yada. Here we are in 2023. Nothing's happened, right? As far as people's marriages, right? The institution of marriage is the same as it always was. It's just more inclusive now. So they create issues and problems where none exist. Kids have not had any trouble understanding. Joey's got two dads. Okay, so what? It's not a big deal. They're the ones who are making it a big deal when there is no issue. Children understand love. What's not to understand? What's difficult and what's really troubling is that they are instilling hate, because children naturally love, but they have to be taught hate. Give you another example. So in 2 different cases that have come to my attention, one a 4th grader and one a 5th grader, different schools in the Quad Cities, actually one in Illinois and one in Iowa, but they were told there's no such thing as gay. So they were bullied, pushed into the locker, insulted with all kinds of names you can imagine, and told there's no such thing as gay. Now, in one case, I know in particular that the person who did this is the son of a pastor. So this is what they're feeding off of, and it's not healthy. It is not right.
Well, you cite 2009 when the Iowa Supreme Court basically legalized same-sex marriage across Iowa. At that point, you rejoiced at the High Court decision. It's been, what, 14 years? Did you... I guess I'm sitting there thinking, in 2009 you probably thought, okay, hallelujah, it's solved. And now you're looking and it's not. Is that the way you see it?
Well, we weren't quite that naive. We knew that there were battles ahead. I never thought that the pendulum would swing this far to the right. And it is, like I say, I think it's a very dangerous thing. You know, we all have to stand together, because if we don't stand together, we will fall apart. We are one human family, and we're very good at picking on each other and isolating and making someone else the other. All right, which other are we going to pick on today? Is it persons with disabilities? Is it going to be minorities, racial minorities? Is it going to be LGBTQ folks? It's a tendency that is driven by fear and nothing but fear. And that's what they use to stoke votes. They drive up the fear factor. Oh my God, there's somebody who's trans who's going to be using the same bathroom as your child. Yeah, so? But see, they don't want to talk about that.
You can argue. They do want to talk about that.
No, they don't want to talk about the fact that it happens all the time and there's never been any incidents.
Does it happen all the time?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, where do you think they go to the bathroom? If I'm dressed up like I am today, you think I'm going to walk into the women's restroom? No. And if I were dressed up in a dress and high heels, you think I'm going to walk into the boys' restroom? No. And if I did so, I would probably be, I could potentially be targeted, right? There's no problem. Show me the facts. Show me the statistics of trans persons preying on anyone, or trans persons grooming or trying to recruit anyone. Doesn't exist.
When you're talking about schools in particular, that's where young people are learning. That they're learning about themselves. They're learning about society. They push boundaries anyhow. Do you think that's what we're seeing right now? Is that there are people that are pushing boundaries only because that's what they do at that age?
Not at all. I think kids are kids the same as they have always been. Trans is more in the news now because it's more, people are able to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So back in 2009 and before, I was constantly interviewed about gay people and about, oh my gosh, is that just the new trend now and there's going to be more and more gay people? Well, guess what? There aren't any more gay people now than there have been since the beginning of time, because we've been around from the very beginning. You look at the earliest prehistoric records of human beings, and there are cave drawings that show homoerotic behaviors. We're not going to take over the world, and we're not trying to recruit anyone. You know, I grew up with lots of examples of heterosexual behaviors. And no one ever accused you guys of grooming me. But try as you might have wanted to groom me, it didn't work. I'm still here, I'm still queer.
Let's talk about the argument that that you're a special class of people and that you need special protections, because that's kind of what the argument is that why are we giving gay people more rights than other people?
Name one right that we have that other people don't. It doesn't exist. There are no rights that we have that other people don't. Are we special? Well, yeah, I think so. I think I'm special, and I think you're special too, Jim. You know, every human being is unique. We're all different. In fact, in my congregation, I use the word queer as a very inclusive term because we're all queer. Queer just means different. We're all different, and isn't that a wonderful thing? The Republicans in the legislature in Iowa want to see the world as black and white, good and bad, right and wrong. That's not the world. That's not real life. Go outside and look at nature. It's not black and white. It's full of vibrant colors. It's full of diversity of all kinds, including sexual diversity. In fact, you know, all the species that have been studied, the incidence of same-gender behaviors, sexual behaviors, is the same, whether you're talking about birds or mammals or humans. It's a part of life. And isn't it wonderful that I'm not exactly like you? You know, I'd hate to think there were two Rich Hendrickses walking around, because I'm not sure the world could handle that. But, you know, we are all different, and that's wonderful. We should be celebrating our uniqueness, but not overlook the fact that we are all part of the same human family. And that's what Republicans want to ignore. They want to divide, raise the fear level, and divide. And once we're divided, then they can conquer. And that's essentially how they came to power.
Well, let's take a look at that, whether or not you're divided or if you're unifying. I mean, with these issues that are before the Iowa legislature, is there a more unifying group? Do you see the LGBTQ community coalescing with a stronger voice? Do you think actually the way the legislature is moving forward with some of these issues actually makes groups that you support stronger?
Well, I hope that it will bring all of LGBTQ folks and all of our allies together. You know, we're not that big of a minority. You know, it's not like we're going to take over the legislature. But our allies understand that human beings are human beings, and we're a part of the human race. And so it has hopefully helped to coalesce folks around the issue of our common humanity, and that we need to stand up against bullies. Because that's what these Republican legislatures are. They're bullies. They're bullying teachers. They're bullying librarians. They're bullying LGBTQ folks. And you know, seeking to ban books. I mean, these are the things that are outrageous and that we shouldn't stand for. I was very pleased to see the coverage of the protest at the Capitol on Sunday. We will have our own protests here in the Quad Cities on Saturday at Vanderveer Park. And I really, really encourage folks to come out and be a part of that, because we have to stand together.
Your church is located in Davenport, of course.
Yes.
But you also have a good view of the Illinois side of the river. Talk about two very different states, one under Democratic supermajority, the other one under Republican supermajority. So it's a stark difference on both sides of the river. Does it make you think that more people may move to the Illinois side or locate there only because of the laws being so much different?
Absolutely. People are already leaving Iowa. I know of stories of people who have moved to Iowa, people who came here and they're looking at which side of the river they want to go to, and they are choosing Illinois. Iowa needs human beings. You know, our population is declining in Iowa. We need immigrants. We need immigrants as part of our labor force. We need immigrants as Iowans. And instead, we're driving them away and driving away others. You know, one of the big forces behind the equal rights movement originally was corporations. Once corporations got on board and realized, you know, I've got a workforce that's very diverse, and I need to please my workforce, and we need laws that protect them, and we want to locate in places where we have ability to draw upon a diverse workforce. It's time, again, for corporations to step up to the plate and take a stand against tyranny. And that's what I think it is. I think it's tyranny. And you know, we saw some of that happening in like with Florida, where large conferences and so forth like that boycotted the state. Well, I think it's time in Iowa for organizations to begin to boycott Iowa. If this is who Iowa is, if that's what they're going to do, then I don't think corporations should be spending their money here.
Let's talk about legalized same-sex marriage. In Iowa, there was a bill introduced to bring it before voters, a constitutional amendment on same-sex marriage. It didn't make it through what's called the funnel.
The funnel,
yeah. It could be tacked onto another bill, or as we have seen, some issues that didn't make it in one session could be introduced in the next session. First off, do you think that's going to happen? Do you think that there will be a bill before Iowa voters in the, let's say within 5 years, that will perhaps add a constitutional amendment making marriage between a biological male and a biological female with no exceptions?
Yeah, 2 points here. One, if Republican supermajorities continue to exist, absolutely. You know that's what they want, and that's where they're going. They knew that that it wasn't popular with the general public, because the general public, even in Iowa, understands and favors same-sex marriage. So if they didn't have the votes, they knew there would be way too much backlash if they did that. And the fact that it doesn't matter anyway, it's still legal at the federal level, so they can't do it. And it would be a long time before that gets, you know,
challenged
and goes through the system. But the other thing that you said I just laughed when I saw the resolution and the wording of it. A biological male and a biological female. You tell me, people think they know the definition, but you know there is no uniform medical definition of what is a male and what is a female. What are you talking about? Are you talking about chromosomes? Are you talking about DNA? Are you talking about body parts? There is no uniform definition. You know, again, the black and white thing, you know, male, female, doesn't exist. There is a spectrum. And people don't like to hear that, but that's the truth. And that exists in nature everywhere, as well as in human beings. So to say a biological male, people come in all sorts of forms. You know, there are folks, you know, who are born with 2 sets of reproductive parts. Is that a biological male? Is that a biological female? I don't know, but they were born that way, Jim.
And I want to take the question one step further, is that if it does become a constitutional amendment and it has to go before the voters, what do you think would happen? I mean, do you think that, like you said, that it's so accepted in Iowa that it would not pass, or would you have some real concerns that it would pass in Iowa?
If it ever gets that far, then that's telling me that there's some real problems and that Iowa has drifted even further to the right, because it has to be passed in 2 sessions of the legislature, and then it's got to go before the public. And I don't see that ever happening. You know, you can only turn back the clock so far. Although we need to be aware, because we saw on the national scale a would-be dictator in Donald Trump, an authoritarian president who does not believe in the Constitution, believes that he's more important than the Constitution. And that could happen again. So if we have a dictator that comes to power, an authoritarian regime, then things change. Germany was one of the most liberal nations in Europe, the height of culture, very accepting of LGBTQ folks in pre-Nazi Germany. No one ever thought it could happen there. But look what happened, the Nazis. We fought a whole war against authoritarian regimes and fascism. And yet, I saw with horror the January 6th event that could have gone the other way. And we would be facing a very different sort of reality.
You were pointing out, as you said, from 2009 to today, that there's a pendulum swing. Do you think the pendulum will swing the other way anytime soon?
Well, I don't know. I mean, in Illinois, the pendulum is already there. I don't know. My hope is that these protests will cause people to wake up and to vote out these Republican supermajorities. But we have a lot of work to do. There's some organizing to do, and the main one is to disarm people's fear. When people are driven by fear, even on the economic level, they're taught that everything is competitive, and there's just one pie, and if I have a bigger piece of pie, that means there's not as much pie for you. Well, human rights are not pie. It doesn't work that way. And in my theology, love doesn't work that way. Love doesn't divide, love multiplies. And with love, when we all work together, sometimes 1 + 1 = 3, because amazing things begin to happen when you equip human beings to their full potential and recognize and accept them for who they are.
Reverend Rich Hendricks of the Metropolitan Community Church of the Quad Cities. Well, welcome to March and a whole lot of early spring activities in the cities. Laura Adams is always looking at the sunny side of things as she tells us about events going on in our community that might be something you'll consider if you go out and about.
This is Out and About for March 10th through 17th. The Missouri Valley Women's Basketball Conference takes over the vibrant arena through March 12th. And get ready for St. Patrick's Day with a corned beef and cabbage dinner fundraiser held by Quad City Irish Rugby on the 11th from 11 to 11. GIT Improv takes over the Black Box Theater stage on the 11th at 7:30. Plus, there's a comedy night at the Front Street Brewery the 13th at 7:30. Augustana presents a St. Patrick's Day concert at Wallenberg Hall on the 14th at 7. The Augustana Jazz Ensemble performs the music of Count Basie the 10th at Centennial Hall, while Small Mouth Sounds will be performed at Augustana's Bruner Theater through the 19th. The Wizard of Oz, presented by Moline High School, runs through the 11th at the school. Grumpy Old Men the Musical opens at Circa 21 on the 15th. A Celebration of Ireland, Music and Stories perform at the Watt Midtown branch of the Rock Island Public Library the 14th at noon. Chamber Music Quad Cities perform at Trinity Episcopal Cathedral on the 11th at 7:30. The Galesburg Community Chorus performs at Galesburg First Lutheran Church the 16th at 7, and the Song Bag concert series featuring John Daniel Lane is set for the Carl Sandburg State Historic Barn on the 12th at 2, while the Columbus Club is the location for the Big Spiderbeck Birthday Bash on the 12th at 3. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. Jason Carl says much of his musical style is influenced by rock, folk, and blues musicians, and his original material is written and performed with honesty and passion. That's what Jason brought to the stage when he joined us at the Black Box Theater. Here's Jason Carl with Yazoo River.
I'm going down to Mississippi and up the Yazoo River in my dreams. I'm going down the Mississippi and up the Yazoo River in my dreams. Tomorrow I hope to make it down in New Orleans. I met a girl, she said her name was Penny. said you look more like $1,000,000. She took me to a ranch, and I met a maid named Dot. She said, I hope you know I think you're crazy, but good luck. I'm going down the Mississippi and up the Yazoo River in my dreams. I'm going down the Mississippi and up the Yazoo River in my dreams. Tomorrow I hope to make it down to New Orleans. I met a man named Tony, he served me drinks. He said, you know, down here $1 goes a long way. And so I gave him all my dollar bills. He appreciated them more than I did anyway. And I saw the flashing lights, and I heard a song that I'd forgotten. And then I harvested the vegetables that the ignorant man thought were rotten. I'm going down the Mississippi and up the Yazoo River in my dreams. I'm going down the Mississippi and up the Yazoo River in my dreams. Tomorrow I hope to make it down to New Orleans. Tomorrow I hope to make it down to New Orleans.
Jason Carl with Yazoo River performed at Moline's Black Box Theater. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.